This is Clown Shoes. He's a new addition to the household. I call him Clown Shoes because he got no feet. Anyway, Clown Shoes was cool looking and he was cheap, and I picked him up and liked him, so I brought him home. Anyway, let's put him back in the pocket. He likes to be in the pocket of a coat, likes to snuggle a little bit. Hello everybody, thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. And as we speak, it's the Sunday before Christmas, and I'm getting ready to go visit my wife's family. We're gonna have Christmas over there today because our family will be up in Fort Payne, Alabama on the mountain celebrating Christmas. But I recently read a book that I'd kind of like to talk about. It's interesting to me, and it's called A Prayer for the Dying by Stewart O'Nan. And Stewart O'Nan is an author that I've never read, and quite frankly, an author that I never would have considered reading. I do not wish to offend. It's just that name never would have entered my mind as an author or books of his that I would have wanted to read. But I'm a member of the Lividian Publications Patreon. I'm a subscriber, I guess that's what I am. And as part of the subscription, you end up getting some stuff like this. And this is an advanced review copy for A Prayer for the Dying by Stewart O'Nan. And I got the book in the mailbox. A friendly neighborhood mail lady hooked a brother up. And reading a little bit about the synopsis, it did sound interesting. So what did I do? I put it on the list. The book's what gots to be read list. I bumped it up way up above lots of other books that I need to read, probably some great ones. I bumped it up to the tip top of the stack there, and read it, went through it pretty quickly. It's not a long book. It's relatively short. All in all, in this particular publication, 209 pages. And I don't think it's a new book, although Lividian Publications is now doing a signed limited edition version of this book coming out in 2025, probably early, maybe January of 2025. I think the book was originally published in 1999. So that's a lot of years, 25 years, if my math thinking is working correctly, for this book to be never, ever have touched my radar, a book I'd never even heard of before. It's not the first book of Stewart O'Nan's that Lividian Publications has published, but it is the first book that I ended up with a copy in my house, and I was compelled to read. And so I did. And what I thought about this book, it was cut right through it. I really, really like this book. And I also need to read more from Stewart O'Nan. But a few things before we get into it. Essentially, we're talking about a post-Civil War era. And so just to set the scene of where we're at, just shortly after the Civil War, the main character, who is Constable Jacob Hansen, is a Civil War vet, fought for the Union in Kentucky. And he'll mention it quite a few times during the book about things that happened in Kentucky. And if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. That's what I think I remember. Anyway, to start with, the book was a little bit tough for me to get into. And the thing that you'll catch if you read it, if you haven't already, right off the bat, is it's written in second person. And that's, as a reader, I keep trying to think of books that I've read written in second person. And I can't think of any others that I've read. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's some great ones, and I'm sure there's some awful ones, because for me, it was a little bit tough to get into it first. But I'll tell you, it didn't take long before I completely just didn't realize that I was reading a second person story. And so I'm sure you know, but second person instead of first person, you would have a person saying, I did this, I thought this, I went there. Second, most common would be third person, where you would have, it would be something like this. He did this. Jacob did this. Jacob was, Jacob went. This one, instead, it's you. So you did this. You went there. You saw this. You were thinking. And so it can be tough. People talk in the second person a lot, but it can be tough to read because it's not really done that often and it's tough to pull it off. But Stewart O'Nan did it well. I'm not sure why he did it. Probably just, I'm assuming, I don't know, probably just to see if he could, just to try it out, because it's not done so often. Sometimes authors like to flex. They like to challenge themselves. They like to try something. So that writing technique was an interesting choice, but it ended up working. It felt right, and I completely just got into it and forgot that I was reading something like that. And so it did help me kind of feel like I was involved a little more, saying you. I felt like it was me. Jacob Hansen is the constable in this very small town post-Civil War in Friendship, Wisconsin. I don't know if it's a real town or not, but he also mentions that he had served in the Civil War. And so an event that he endured during the Civil War helped to shape him in many ways. And he refers back to that event throughout this story. But as we start off, essentially, he's the constable. He's also the undertaker. He serves many roles in this town. He's the one, if somebody's animals escape, he has to go get the animals. He's also a preacher or a pastor, so he serves many roles in this small town. And he takes them all very seriously, and he wants to make sure he does everything right. He wants to be the good guy. He wants to do things the right way. But starting off, Jacob is called out because a local guy, he's getting honey with his son. He finds a dead body. So Jacob comes out to get the body, investigate, take care of the body, all these different things, parts of his job. And the doc comes out and checks out the body, and it turns out they figure out it's sick. Diphtheria has come to town, and diphtheria is a bad disease that is easily transmitted, can kill off a whole town. And they talked about a situation in another town where half the town died from this disease. At the same time, they find a lady who's a member of the colony. Nearby, there's a place they call the colony, where this person takes in lots of folks. It kind of implies it's a religious cult, but they take in folks from all over, bring them in. Very religious, but there's also a lady that came from the colony, wandered, and she's crazy, and she's sick, and they also figure that that's a result of the disease. Now, Jacob, doing what he's supposed to do, he has a wife, and he has a daughter, a young daughter. And he goes home and he tells the wife about it. And the wife says, well, let's leave. Let's leave right now. And Jacob's thinking, no, we don't want to spread this disease. At the same time, we don't want to panic the town. If there's a way to keep it under control, to stop other people from getting it, it would be a whole lot better. And what we don't want is people leaving, going all the nearby towns, and infected people spreading the disease. So he's thinking about the bigger picture, trying to do things right, trying to be the good guy. And his wife you get the feeling that she thinks the best thing to do is for her to take her daughter to her sister's house, out of town, another town. So at the very least, the daughter is protected. And she decides, nope, I'm going to stay here with you. You're right. I'm going to stay here with you. So Jacob's already handled a dead body that's got the disease, and helped to take this lady who they also think is infected, essentially lock her up to quarantine her. And the guy that runs that's in charge of the colony comes to visit, and he gets too close to her, disobeys doctor's orders. So we have a disease, and we have Jacob and the doctor working very hard to try to contain it, to do the right thing, hopefully to save the town, and hopefully to stop the spread of the disease. There's also another thing, but wait, there's more. There's a raging fire that's spreading across the area, and they think it might be coming their way. And so all of these issues kind of combine to create a cataclysm of sorts for this town. And so there's the disease, there's the fire, and there's all of the stuff that would go on within a community when things aren't going right. And I think one of the great things about this story, and perhaps the second person narrative contributes, but I think it's more the writing, is I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm a part of this town. I feel like I got a good grasp or understanding on how a lot of the characters with different motivations, different concerns. Somebody may be more concerned with the health and the well-being of their family than with that of the town. Or a business person might be concerned with they've spent their whole life trying to build a business, and they're more concerned with the well-being of their business and stuff like that. But I don't want to tell too much more about the specifics of the story itself. But Stewart O'Nan is an author that I need to read more of. I've read this book. I really liked it. His prose is a little bit more, I want to say, elaborate. He's got a fancy type of a prose that I really didn't think I would like until I actually got into this book. So I don't know how much different this prose, this narrative will be from his other works. But I really liked his writing. I liked his prose. I actually, when I got used to it, I liked the second person narrative. I really like these characters here. And I liked how it's not always easy to do the right thing. And it's not always easy to figure out what the right thing is. What's the right thing for your family, for the town, for the community, for the area in general, for me. It's not always easy to figure that kind of stuff out. There is parts in here later in the book. There's a part, I think, an aspect of the story that does bother me a little bit. And it's more about what the main character does. I don't want to give anything away. But there's a spot there where I get to it and I'm kind of, the kids now say cringe, but I'm kind of like, give me the creeps, and I don't really like it that much. You invest a lot of time and energy in getting into a character, pulling for them, wanting the best for them. And there's a spot that I wish it wasn't there. An aspect of the story that I wish didn't occur. But beyond that, I really liked so many things about this story, and the way it ended up, I kind of had an idea it would be something like that. And so the end also for me works. Stewart O'Nan in this story, at least, does not paint a beautiful, happy picture. But I really like the story. I really like the writing. I'll give it, I would say 4 stars out of 5 is how I would rate this. I'd want to read more from the author. I'm looking forward to getting the signed limited edition from Lividian Publications. It will be a keeper, and I'll be glad to have it. I can't wait to see what it looks like. The artwork on here is from one of my very favorite artists who ever lived, and that is Francois Vaillancourt. So there's a lot of good stuff here, a lot of things that I'm happy about, excited about, and I can't wait to get the limited edition on the shelf. It should be out pretty soon, early 2025 is what I'm thinking. But Stewart O'Nan's A Prayer for the Dying is a good one. I do recommend it, and I do recommend you go into it knowing that everything is not sunshine, flowers, rainbows. With that being said, I can think of no more lies to tell, so thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it, and c'est la vie, baby. Where's my snake? Get out of my pocket. It's all wrapped around things. Tangled up. Oh, come on. I got him. Clown shoes. Because he ain't got no feet.